The sky above Earth darkened as the first wave of Zarqa ships descended. It wasn't the eerie silence that made the invasion terrifying, it was the thunderous roar of the bombardment, a signal that Earth was no longer safe. Explosions lit up the horizon as cities crumbled beneath the weight of the alien assault. General Olivia Voss stood on the balcony of the UEDF command center, watching as the world she'd sworn to protect burned. The familiar skyline of New York was nothing but a smoldering ruin, its skyscrapers collapsing into dust. "We're losing them," whispered Lieutenant Juno, her eyes glued to the chaotic scenes on the screens. The UEDF was scattered, their formations shattered by the overwhelming force of the Zarqa. Olivia clenched her fists. She had trained for this, planned for this. But there was no strategy that could have prepared them for what the Zarqa unleashed. The invaders were more than just technologically advanced, they were brutal, calculated, and relentless. Earth was outmatched. "We need to regroup," Olivia said, her voice cold and controlled. "Get all remaining units to fall back to the secondary defense lines. We're not holding this." Lieutenant Juno hesitated, her face pale as she looked at the footage. "General, they're everywhere." "Do it!" Olivia snapped, her sharp tone cutting through the officer's hesitation. "Now." As the command was relayed, Olivia turned away from the balcony, her eyes hardening. There was no time for uncertainty, no room for doubt. They had to survive. And to survive, they would have to adapt, fight back with everything they had left. The command center was a flurry of activity. Officers and soldiers moved quickly, their faces grim, some with fear, others with resolve. Olivia's mind worked at lightning speed, analyzing the situation, plotting the next move. She walked toward a digital map, her boots echoing in the quiet as the others paused to listen. "We're not going to win this fight head-on," she muttered to herself, her fingers tracing the holographic lines of the battlefield. "They've come to wipe us out, not conquer." A young officer stepped forward, his voice trembling. "General, what do we do? We've already lost 3 bases, and the Zarqa have established a foothold in every major city." Olivia took a breath, her eyes narrowing. "We'll pull back. I'm ordering a full retreat to the safe zones. Our mission now is to keep the human race alive." The officer opened his mouth to argue but was interrupted by the loud beep of an incoming communication. It was a secure line, someone from the UEDF's command ship. "General Voss, this is Commander Riker." His voice crackled over the comms. "We're going dark. The enemy's jamming all frequencies. We're cut off from the other ships." "Understood, Commander," Olivia said, her expression hardening. "But we can't afford to lose the whole fleet. Fall back to the rendezvous point on Mars, but make sure to take as many survivors as you can." Riker's voice came through, tinged with disbelief. "Mars? You're ordering us to abandon Earth?" "No," Olivia replied, her voice steel. "We're saving what we can. You'll regroup, but Earth is lost for now. If the Zarqa want our home, they'll have to burn it to the ground first." There was a long silence before Riker answered. "Copy that. We'll make the jump." Back at the command center, the panic was palpable. Civilians filled the hallways as military personnel scrambled to prepare for the evacuation. Every second was a race against time. Olivia's eyes flicked between the screens, earthquakes from the shockwaves, blinding flashes from explosions, and the streaks of burning ships in the sky. "You're sure we'll have enough time?" Juno asked, fear creeping into her voice. "I mean, the ships are everywhere." Olivia didn't look at her, but her response was calm. "We'll get them out. The Zarqa might have firepower, but they underestimate our will to fight back." Olivia stepped forward and addressed the room, her voice a sharp command. "Listen up. We don't have the luxury of planning for a long war. We're pulling back. But don't think for 1 second we're done. We'll survive this. And when the time comes, we'll strike back, harder." There was a murmur of agreement among the officers. As Olivia stepped out into the streets to oversee the evacuation, the smoke and fire in the air choked her. The air was thick with the stench of burning metal and crushed concrete. She had seen war, had lived through battles, but never had she felt so powerless. "General, the civilian transport convoy is ready," a nearby officer reported. Olivia nodded, her thoughts briefly turning to her own family. She had lost her parents in an attack years ago, but now, standing in the ruins of her city, it felt like the weight of that loss had doubled. "Get them out," she ordered, but her voice was softer now. "Make sure they get out." The next few hours were a blur. Humanity fought, but it was no use. The Zarqa were everywhere. Still, Olivia watched as the last of the civilian transports lifted off from Earth, heading toward the safe zones. The battle wasn't over, but Earth was lost. In a small, secluded command room, Olivia sat alone for a moment, her head in her hands. The weight of it all settled over her like a crushing tide. Was this it? Was humanity's future already written in the ashes of their cities? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps. Juno appeared, standing at the doorway. "You're right, General," she said quietly. "We're not finished yet. Not as long as there's breath in our lungs." Olivia looked up, her gaze meeting Juno's. "No. We're not done. Not until we make them regret ever stepping foot on our planet." As the last of Earth's defense forces retreated, the invaders stood victorious. But somewhere deep inside, Olivia Voss knew that this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of something far darker. The Zarqa might have unleashed hell, but humanity had just found a reason to fight back. And in that, they were more dangerous than the invaders could ever imagine. The gravity of Earth's fall weighed heavily on the survivors. For a while, there was silence. The chaos had subsided, leaving behind an eerie quiet. But General Olivia Voss didn't have the luxury of mourning. She was already planning, already thinking about how to take the fight back to the Zarqa. The evacuees were safely settled in the Mars colony, hidden deep within its underground bunkers, far from the burning remnants of Earth. Olivia paced the command center, eyes glued to a tactical display showing the map of Earth's last defense lines. The Zarqa were relentless, scattering their forces across Earth's surface, preparing to wipe out any semblance of resistance. "We're running out of time," Lieutenant Juno's voice broke through Olivia's thoughts. "The Zarqa are establishing major strongholds on the outskirts of what used to be the United States. We'll have to hit them soon, or they'll have a foothold too deep to root out." Olivia's gaze flickered to the screen. The once proud cities of Earth were now nothing but ruins. But this wasn't defeat, it was just the beginning. They had been cornered, but they hadn't been defeated. "We're not done yet," Olivia muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. She clenched her jaw, eyes hardening. "They underestimated us." "General, we've got intel," a voice called out from across the room. Captain Soren, one of Olivia's top strategists, approached with a tablet in hand. "A weakness in their supply lines. Their ships are dependent on a specific fuel. If we hit their supply depot on Luna, we can cripple their entire fleet. They'll be grounded long enough for us to strike back." Olivia took the tablet, scanning the information. The depot on Luna. A soft smile played on her lips. It was small, just a fraction of the power the Zarqa had, but it was a vital part of their operation. They needed fuel to keep their machines running, their ships flying, and their invasion rolling forward. "Get me a team ready," Olivia ordered. "We're taking the fight to them." The team assembled quickly. It wasn't a large force, there wasn't time to mobilize an army, but they didn't need one. They needed precision, not numbers. A strike team of 30 soldiers, carefully selected for their expertise, stood before Olivia, ready for the mission. "Listen up," Olivia began, her voice clear and commanding. "We're not here to play games. This is our first strike back, and it needs to be clean. The Zarqa think they've already broken us. We need to show them they've only made us angrier." The team nodded in unison, the weight of the mission clear in their eyes. There would be no second chances. If they failed, the Zarqa would have a clear path to Earth's remaining survivors. "I don't need you to be heroes," Olivia continued. "I need you to be ghosts. Quiet, fast, and relentless. You get in, you hit the depot, and you get out. If anything goes sideways, abort. We're not sacrificing anyone. Understood? Understood, the team responded in unison. As they prepared for the mission, Olivia's mind raced. Every detail had to be perfect. There could be no margin for error. The fate of humanity's counteroffensive rested on this strike. The journey to Luna was brief, but the tension aboard the ship was palpable. Olivia stared out into the blackness of space, her mind replaying every move, every contingency. What if they were ambushed? What if the depot was better protected than they thought? General, Soren's voice broke through her thoughts. We've got intel that suggests the depot's defenders are spread thin. The Zarqa have been focusing on Earth. This could be the moment. Don't get overconfident, Captain, Olivia replied, her voice calm but firm. Until we're out, there's no victory. Keep your guard up. The rest of the team stayed quiet, waiting for orders. They were veterans, each with their own personal scars, mental or physical, from the war. The mission wasn't just for survival. It was personal. They dropped out of warp and hovered silently over Luna's surface. The depot was nestled in a crater on the dark side of the moon, hidden from Earth's prying eyes. Olivia took a deep breath before speaking. Move fast. We're in and out in under 20 minutes. No delays. The team dropped onto the surface, their boots sinking slightly into the dust as they quickly made their way to the entrance. No alarms. No guards. It was eerily quiet. As they entered the depot, Olivia's heart pounded. The dim red lights of the depot illuminated the narrow corridors, casting long shadows on the walls. The only sound was the hum of machinery, peaceful, almost serene, but that only made the mission more dangerous. It was a trap, she knew it. Split up, Olivia ordered. We've got 5 minutes before we hit the core systems. Move quickly. The team spread out, with Olivia at the front, scanning for any signs of life. She knew the Zarqa had a penchant for lurking in the shadows, but there was no sign of them here. It wasn't until the central control room that Olivia realized something wasn't right. The depot's core systems had already been activated. Trap, Olivia hissed under her breath, just as a loud, screeching alarm sounded through the depot. The Zarqa were aware. Before she could react, a door slammed shut behind them, locking them inside the room. The screeching intensified, as lights blinked red. We need to move now, Olivia shouted. With her heart racing, she turned to the control panel, knowing time was running out. Soren and his team were already at the terminals, typing in commands. The depot's fuel supply was their target, but now it was a race against time to destroy it. General, we've got 5 minutes. Soren called, panic creeping into his voice. Olivia turned to face him. Make it 2. Set the charges. Let's go. As they worked, the rumble of distant footsteps echoed through the halls. Zarqa reinforcements were closing in. Their time was running out. The explosives were set. With one last look at the depot, Olivia gave the signal. Move out. They sprinted down the hall, their adrenaline pumping, hearts pounding in their chests. The depot was shaking now, the sounds of alien boots behind them growing louder. They didn't stop running, didn't look back. With seconds to spare, they reached the extraction point. The explosion behind them lit up the entire surface of Luna in a blinding flash. The depot crumbled as the fuel ignited, sending a shockwave through the barren landscape. As they made their way back to the ship, Olivia looked out at the expanding fireball in the distance. She felt a rush of satisfaction. Humanity had struck first. The Zarqa had learned the hard way that they hadn't broken her, or the rest of humanity. They had only given her a reason to fight harder. This is just the beginning, Olivia whispered to herself, a grim smile crossing her face. The fire had been lit. The battle for humanity had moved beyond the realm of survival. It was no longer just about holding on to life, it was about reclaiming the future. The attack on the Luna depot had done more than cripple the Zarqa's fleet, it had ignited a spark. A spark that had long been buried beneath the ashes of defeat. General Olivia Voss had delivered the first blow, and now, it was time to follow through. Earth's atmosphere still smelled of smoke and desperation. But beneath the desolation, a flicker of hope burned brighter than it had since the first wave of the Zarqa invasion. Olivia paced the command center on Mars, her mind racing with the knowledge that this would be their last stand. The mission was set. If they failed here, Earth would be lost for good. "We've got one chance at this," Olivia said, her voice steady but edged with urgency. "The Zarqa think we're scattered, weak. But this is the moment we show them just how wrong they are. If we take down their command ship, we cripple their entire operation." Lieutenant Juno stood beside her, her face grim. "How do you propose we get close enough? Their defenses are too strong. We don't have the firepower for a head-on assault." Olivia turned to her, locking eyes. "We don't need firepower, Juno. We need precision. This isn't about fighting them in their strength. This is about catching them when they're exposed. We're going to use their arrogance against them." Juno swallowed, a sense of uneasy anticipation settling over her. "And how exactly do you propose we do that?" Olivia smiled, cold and sharp. "We're going to sneak in. We've got a small, stealth team ready. We're going to plant charges on their command ship, and when it goes down, their entire army will collapse. All the ground forces, all their technology, it'll be useless without their leaders. We'll take them down from the inside." The plan was simple in theory, but no less dangerous. Olivia's team, hardened by months of guerrilla warfare, was ready. But the stakes were higher than ever. If they failed, there would be no coming back from it. Hours later, the small, heavily modified shuttle caught through the blackness of space, creeping silently toward the Zarqa command ship. The planet below, once home to billions, was now a silent graveyard. Olivia watched the glowing ball of Earth in the distance, the place she had once called home. Her heart tightened, but there was no time for sentiment. "We're approaching their outer perimeter," Captain Soren's voice came through the comms. "Stealth systems are holding, but it won't be long before they detect us." Olivia's mind was a flurry of calculations. They had to move quickly. Time was against them, and every second spent waiting was another chance for the Zarqa to detect their presence. "Get us inside the hangar. Then we move fast," Olivia ordered. "Remember, we're ghosts. No mistakes. If we're spotted, abort. We don't engage unless we have to." The shuttle glided toward the docking bay, cloaked by the ship's advanced stealth systems. As they landed, the team, clad in black tactical gear, moved swiftly and silently. Their mission: disable the Zarqa's command center from within. But they wouldn't make it out unless the plan went perfectly. Olivia led the way, her eyes scanning every corridor, every shadow. The command ship was eerily quiet, its vast halls hollowed by the absence of life. Only the hum of alien machinery filled the silence. They moved quickly through the ship's interior, bypassing security systems and silently taking out any Zarqa guards they encountered. "General, we're at the control room," Soren reported as they approached the heart of the ship. Olivia motioned for the team to stop. Her gaze swept across the chamber ahead. The door was heavily reinforced, the core of the Zarqa's operations, but she knew exactly what to do. She had trained for this. "Set the charges. We'll be in and out in 5 minutes," Olivia ordered. The team began planting the explosives. Olivia paced the room, making sure every detail was in place. The charges, designed to disable the command ship's control center, were timed to go off at the precise moment the ship's defenses were down. She felt the pressure building as the countdown ticked closer to 0. Every second felt like an eternity. Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence, booming through the ship's intercom. "You think you can stop us, human? You have no idea what you're dealing with." Olivia froze. The voice was unmistakable: Cloth, the Zarqa warlord. She had never faced him directly, but she knew this was his ship. His arrogance dripped from every word. Olivia's grip tightened on her weapon. "We're about to find out," she muttered under her breath. Soren glanced up, his expression tense. "General, "We've been spotted." The alarms just went off. "Move," Olivia commanded, her voice sharp and steady. "Finish the charges, then get to the escape route. We're not leaving without a fight." As the last of the charges were set, the ship's systems went into lockdown. The alarms blared, and the walls trembled as the Zarqa attempted to seal them inside. But Olivia was prepared for this. She had anticipated the ambush. "Go! Go! Go!" Olivia shouted, pushing her team forward. The exit was just ahead, only a few more meters. But the Zarqa had already begun to swarm the corridors. "General," shouted Sergeant Mathis, one of the team's best operatives. "We've got company." Olivia's eyes narrowed. The door to the escape bay was just a few meters away. They had to make it. She looked at the team, all of them pushing forward, but some were starting to fall behind. The Zarqa were relentless, closing in fast. Olivia fired back, picking off the first wave of attackers with cold precision, but the enemy was unyielding. "Keep moving," she ordered, pulling Mathis forward as gunfire erupted around them. The detonator was in her hands now, the countdown nearly at 0. There was no time left. The final push came. They reached the escape bay and sprinted toward the shuttle, the doors beginning to close. Olivia slammed her hand against the hatch control, just as a blast shook the ship to its core. The detonators had gone off, igniting the Zarqa command ship in a fiery explosion that sent shockwaves through space. The shuttle shot away from the wreckage, barely escaping the inferno that consumed the Zarqa ship. Olivia watched as the flames spread through the remnants of the alien vessel. For a moment, the vastness of space seemed to hold its breath. "We did it," Mathis said, his voice shaking. Olivia didn't smile. She didn't even feel the rush of victory. There would be no time for that. The war wasn't over. This was just a battle in a much larger war. "We're not done yet," Olivia replied, her voice unwavering. "But this is the beginning of the end for them." As the shuttle soared away from the burning wreckage, Earth in the distance, Olivia's eyes hardened. The Zarqa had underestimated humanity once again. And now, they would learn why it was a mistake they'd never recover from.